I'd like to take a minute to talk about my separation from my wife and my ex-wife and our 6 kids and how it feels to go through divorce. Just more as a healing thing for me than maybe benefits you individually. First of all, the decision is never easy to make. It's something that shouldn't be taken lightheartedly, and some decision that I struggled with for a long time, actually, probably 7 years or roughly, maybe 5 to 7, I don't know. And of course, when there's children involved, it makes it more complicated. And so because of my life beliefs and situation, like I feel like I did it differently than a lot of people. A lot of people are in such a bad spot with their marriage. They're not happy. They're crushing each other's dreams or whatever, which wasn't entirely true for me. But what they typically do is they'll go out and do something radical to spur the change, to give them maybe strength or courage, which is fine. And I know that happens to a lot of people, but for me, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure that that I was really making this decision level-headed and without being influenced by maybe one of those other experiences that some people are that lead into divorce. So I left in December 1st, and I don't know why. I mean, just as soon as the decision was made in my mind after, that amount of time, and we went through counseling and everything, the night before, it just hit me. I was like, okay, I need to leave Amy. And the next day was my son's birthday, James. But I had that conviction, and I knew I had to do it then or never. So I told Amy I'm leaving, like we'll do James's birthday. But that night I didn't stay there, which timing-wise probably wasn't the smartest thing. And I hope James doesn't suffer for that, because it certainly wasn't anything to do with his birthday or anything. It's just that's just how it happened. So I love my kids immensely, and I don't feel like this is a decision of me abandoning them. I although perception-wise, it certainly could feel that way from my kids. My kids could feel that. My neighbors certainly feel that. My wife, ex-wife, Amy, feels that. But I don't think that's true in divorce. Why should it be? I was telling my son last night, Johnny, because he's struggling with this, and he was in tears over something else. And I'm like, well, how are you doing really with, me and Mom? And he broke down and shared his feelings with me, which is incredibly good. And I hadn't done that with him yet. I've done it mostly. I've done it with every other one of my kids. Is I've seen that. I've just kind of like, I want him to know we can talk about this and it's okay. But I was telling Johnny last night, I was like, look, Mom and Dad weren't happy together. He's only 8. He doesn't understand all the reasons and everything that goes into a decision like this. I just said, Mom and Dad weren't happy together, and now maybe Mom's not happy yet, but I believe she will be better off and happy again in the future. At least that's my desire and hope for her. And then I said, I think she's starting to realize that, like, okay, wow, I can live my life without Steve inhibiting me, and that's what I'm realizing as well, largely. And because sometimes I think we're on different paths, or our life wants to go a different direction, and we're trying to cling onto that person and go with them, which is the right thing to do. But if there's that major resistance, and that was the case for me, it's like, okay, well, I've got this major resistance, so that's a hard decision to make. And I'm not even sure, like, time will tell if it's the right decision. I mean, that's a big worry of mine. Obviously, I have concerns and fears and stress about my kids' longevity and how they're going to turn out. But I was telling Johnny, I was like, okay, so mom and dad aren't happy together. Dad's happy now. Mom's going to get happy. So if we're married, we're not happy. You have two unhappy parents. If we're divorced and we both can get to a happy place, you have two happy parents. And so if you're never going to be completely happy in marriage, and at least you have two parents that still love you and want to be happy. And I'm like, that's better off, right? And he's like, well, yeah. But of course, if you can be married and happy, that's the ideal. And I'm not saying I was all unhappy or that was all bad, certainly not. And that's why I was married almost 20 years. And so to have from Amy's perspective, like it was very sudden, because every time I try to talk about it, like we never could talk about it. It's like, well, that's not an option in my mind, is what she'd say. And which is true. She never wanted that to be an option. But so I made the decision and left. And from a perception thing, people are thinking, I even got hate mail from my old neighbors, like, oh, you must have cheated and you must have done this other stuff, and it's pretty obvious you're improving your life and your looks. And well, of course I am. I always have been striving for that. But yeah, what's wrong with that? Anything, if anything. Anyway, so like going through all that, it's like, holy cow, people, first of all, why do you have to make a decision and choose sides? I certainly don't want my kids to do that, and I certainly don't want my family to do that, and I certainly don't want me to do that. Of course, if I'm going to choose sides, it's going to be my own, obviously. That's how it works, but I'm not naive enough to realize that this isn't going to affect everybody. And only time can tell, like, and it's up to the individual, including my kids, and I'm going to try to teach them this, like, you're your own person. Like, you need to be happy yourself. And how can I help you maximize and stretch toward that and work toward that? That's my goal. And obviously, I want to be an incredibly good dad. And the hardest part for me in all this is not seeing my kids every day. And them coming to me and go, Dad, I miss you. Where are you every day? I mean, that is incredibly hard. And it's just every time I go, wow, is this the right thing? Like something happens and I'm like, okay, that affirms it. Like, okay, I remember why I'm doing this, because you forget and it's hard. Anyway, I don't know if I want to post this or not, but it's probably good for me to talk through. And so I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, well, this is our new life. And, you know, it's different, Johnny. And but once, you know, mom's roots are settled because she's moving to a new house. Once dad's roots are settled, like, you're going to have two completely solid parents that love you, and the routine is going to get better, and it is already. My kids' perspectives are getting better, their attitudes are getting better, like they're healing from this. They need to heal from this. I'm praying and desiring and wanting that, but I still don't think it was the wrong thing to do for me. And I still feel like, you know, I feel incredibly bad about it in a lot of ways. And, but I just have a sense of purpose now and a sense of direction, which I couldn't get before. And so for me, this was kind of my path. And I know I could have stuck it out and just, you know, suffered through or whatever and been somewhat happy and just not really fulfilled in all my areas. But I wasn't willing to do that, and some other things happened. like I said, nothing like crazy, but there were some other indicators. And I was like, well, okay, then don't really want to go into all that. But I just think it's only fair to express my feelings this way because of how people are perceiving it. And not that I really even care what people think, but I care what my kids think. And I care what Amy thinks. And I care what my family thinks. And I care what my friends think. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is my life, and you have your own life, and every life is different. Everyone's heart is different. Everyone's emotional capabilities are different. Everyone's direction and path could be different. And so that's just what it is, guys. This is my life. And if you want to take a side and be bitter and mad or whatever, I mean, that's okay. That's probably part of the healing process. And if you're a support for Amy that way and you want to get mad with her and talk shit about me or whatever, that's fine. Because that's going to help, hopefully, Amy. And I don't know how it helps you, but you just have to really keep into consideration. You don't know me. You don't know my feelings. You don't know my mind. You don't know my heart. You don't know the situation. And I think we just need to have a little more grace and understanding with people and try to reach them where they're at and love them unconditionally. Because we all struggle in life, right? We all have our challenges and things. So just be good to people, honestly. Make connections and emotionally connect on a level with people to let them know that you love them and that they matter, at least to you. And if they matter to somebody, then they matter to them themselves. And once they realize they can matter to God or a universe or whatever their belief is, then they can get more driven and passionate and guided that way. And